Good afternoon, good evening. you you reached Spiritual Impulse. My name is Edith, and I'm happy that you're here today. This channel focuses on supporting basically women, children, and men to reframe challenges as opportunities for unfoldment, growth, and prosperity. And that's what we do here. So we're going to get started now, and we're going to continue our conversation that we've had on disengaged children. You know, I'm a former educator. I love education. It was my passion. I've been retired, and I am just transitioning and reinventing myself now. And I thought this podcast would introduce me to that. So thank you so much for being here. So last week, what we talked about was setting the stage to establish relevance and engage parents. And just for a small, short recap, we spoke on listening as the key to confidence, resilience, and problem solving for children. And we really talked and asked about what is about the key to listening, really. And we learned last week that what children or teenagers want the most from parents is for them to listen, not necessarily fix, not necessarily go into teacher mode, not necessarily, be having a punishing attitude or judgmental attitude. Or the most important is the fix it attitude, wanting to fix it. Most teens just want you to listen. In other words, they just want to be heard. Just like I know you women understand that a lot, because I know your husbands, moment that you share something with them, they want to go into the fix it mode. And really all you want them to do is to listen. So that was a recap. Now, today's session is going to focus on this statement. Disengagement isn't defiance. It's a signal that something deeper is happening. And I'm going to relate a story I told a little while ago about my granddaughter, who, after I did my first live session, she called me and she began, just to make a long story short, she began sharing with me that she was feeling sad and mad and disillusioned, and her self-esteem was low. And to make a long story short, I asked her a series of questions, and it got to this point where she confided in me that after COVID, they put her in an online class. And instead of doing her homework at that time, which was math, she was playing games. And so we talked about that. And she also confided in me that she didn't know math very well, because she asked me a question about my age. And instead of giving her the age, I presented a problem to her to solve, and she would discover what my age was. And then that's when she admitted to me that she really didn't understand math that well. So that was good. That discovery was really good. So the guiding question that I have for you parents is, have you ever noticed your child disengaging? And at that point, when you notice it, what do you think is driving that disengagement? That's the question that we're going to be talking with tonight. What is undergirding that disengagement? Because it all has a cause. And moving on, we are going to be discussing the 4 modes of engagement so that you can understand it, and you can understand the different ways that children disengage, because there's not one size that fits all. Kids move between different stages based on their learning environment. Now, these are not traits. This is not an identity. These are stages. They're mobile, they're movable, that children will go through. And we want to go over them so that you'll understand and be able to pinpoint the mode that maybe your child is in, so that we can provide some strategies and the tools to help you, navigate through that. The first mode is the passenger mode. First of all, there are four modes, and the first one is the passenger mode. Now, this mode is where the child just does the bare minimum, based bored because it's either too easy or it's too hard. Both of those will shut a child down, disengage. If it's too easy, I don't have any challenge. If it's too hard, they feel a little less confident. So those two modes, you want something to happen in the middle. The second mode of engagement is achiever. Okay, and this is where you find your child working hard for approval, but may lose sight of their own passions and become exhausted. Maybe you recognize that mode. Now, I'm going to see if I can pull up something on my table so that, and just bear with me here because I'm learning. I am learning this, and I'm having fun learning it, but it's really challenging me me here. Let me see if I can pull this. Let's see the four modes. Okay, I'm getting it. I don't want that. Don't want that. Okay, here's what I want. Now I have to find out how do I put this in here? I'm not sure. Okay, well, we're just going to move on. And I did develop a chart, and I wanted to show it to you in here today. But anyway, I'll just have to find out how to do that because I really don't know. But it's all about learning for me, and so I'll have it mastered next weekend. But anyway, it's just a chart of the four modes of engagement. And we have mentioned one of them, which is the passenger mode, and that's doing the minimum. And then the next mode is the achiever mode, and that's where the child works really hard for the approval, and they may lose sight of their own passion because they're exhausted, trying to keep up with, the approval of the parents and the teachers. The next mode is called the resistor mode. Now, this mode, I must say to you that this probably is the mode that you may see more often in classes because this is the mode that causes the most challenge for teachers and also parents. This is where they push back on just about everything. They avoid work, they disrupt the class, or refuse to participate. Remember, this is a signal, not defiance. You know that something else is going on with that child. And the last mode is the explorer mode. Now, this is where the student is fully engaged, they're motivated, they're curious, they're confident in their ability to learn, they have agency. And this is the mode that I suggest, and also experts suggest, that we want our children to embody this mode. Why? Because once you recognize what mode your child is in, you can use specific strategies and tools to support them and guide them towards the explorer road, the explorer mode. And we're going to talk more about agency in a few minutes. So let's talk a little bit about why kids disengage. And I want the parents, and if there are any teachers aboard, to know that disengagement may not be a personal failure, but a response to a deeper issue. And some of the reasons for disengagement, I'm going to listen. Listen. Feeling unseen or unheard, feeling overwhelmed or behind with no way to catch up, emotional struggles, stress, grief, trauma, unmet needs. I mean, the kid may be hungry, may be living in a shelter. You just don't know. Grief, they may be grieving a grandfather or grandmother or someone in the family that passed, or a schoolmate. What about the trauma that a lot of students are experiencing in the classroom now at school? Someone getting shot, or they have a shooter that's on board, and they don't feel safe, or they see some of their schoolmates get hurt. They may be dealing with all of that. They seem to be dealing with a lot more than what I dealt with when I went to school. We went to school, we felt safe, and our parents knew that we were safe in school, at least the ones that weren't playing hooky. The children may be experiencing bullying. That's prevalent now in most schools, and they may be discriminated against, unfortunately, in one way or another, or they may have a value misalignment with their learning environment, or they lack agency and control over their learning. So those are some of the takeaways from why children, especially teenagers, will disengage. Let's move on to talk a little bit about agency, because agency is what really defines, I believe, the explorer mode. And agency really is about having a plan, executing that plan, and learning how to overcome barriers along the way, and tapping into internal resources like themselves, looking within, putting forth the effort, and also external resources like experts, teachers, parents, neighbors, pastors. So agency really is about the child who's the most autonomous and the independent learner, because they have confidence in knowing who they are. And in knowing who they are, they have to know what they like about, this education. They have to know how to deal with getting assignments done, even if they don't like the assignment. They really have to know what distracts them when they're learning, and how to set up an environment that prevents that distraction. And they also have to know what they love and why they like it, and even though you get an assignment, a child may get an assignment, they can make that assignment fun if they know those things about themselves. For instance, they listen to music. Some people listen to music, or but that requires the child to know who they are. And that's, a child that can be autonomous and independent, as they take their schooling and learning under their own wing and push themselves forward, because they have the confidence in doing that. But remember, that's a skill that has to be developed. So the key takeaway here is that disengagement is not a character flaw. It is a reaction. Disengagement is a reaction. The key is to ask what's driving this reaction. That's what we want to do as parents and also teachers. We want to ask what's driving that reaction, because I can guarantee there is something driving it. Now, how can parents support agency? And I want to talk a little bit about this is because it will give you some strategies and some tools in helping to regain some sense of control and engagement for your little one, for your child, or your teenager. One thing I want to caution you is, um, if you are in a situation, a relationship situation with your child, and do you know how probably to encourage them to open up to you? And if not, you can start learning the process, because I was a child. I'm sure some of the parents were children. You know what you liked and what encouraged you. And so, you don't want to approach a situation, especially when a child comes home, and start being the teacher, or interrogating your child in a way that makes them feel comfortable and they don't feel safe to share with you, because they feel like they're going to get punished, or you're not approving of them. Um, so when you want to encourage children, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about some strategies to use to support children, then you don't want to discourage them. You don't want to, have them completely shut you out, because, they will do that. And so you want to find times that you can have a quiet, peaceful, respectful, engaged conversation with your child, your teenager, and so that they can open up to you. That's what you want. So you don't want to get in there immediately, right after they come from school, hit them the moment that they come in the door and the books are not down yet. You don't want to, uh, shut them down before they have a chance to talk with you, because they can share some things of interest, and I'm sure you'd want to hear those things. Resist the urge to fix. Remember what we said last week, is that children want most from their parents is to be listened to. So resist the urge to fix, resist the urge to solve the problem, but guide them towards solutions by asking some empowering questions. And this is exactly what I did with my granddaughter. I started asking her questions, and she finally opened up and told me. So you may want to say something like, what do you think is holding you back? If they're having challenges with the if they're having challenges with the math or any particular topic, you know. So just ask them what's going on, and or what kind of support would be most helpful for you. So that we can get you through this challenge here. What kind of support do you think would be most helpful? And if you ask it in such a way that the child knows that you're really listening and you're not really trying to interrogate them and make them feel bad, then you're showing them that their voice matters. And when they feel that you're really listening to you, I know that they'll open up. So, just be gentle with them. You don't want to react to anything that they say, because that will really shut them down. And, especially if they have confidence in sharing with you, you just want to not react. Don't show any oh my God, you what? You know how some people can get. You don't want to do that. You don't want to react. Just listen. And if it shocks you, don't react to it, because this will definitely shut your teenager down. They won't share it with you anymore because they don't like the reaction, and they think you're disapproving of them. So you want to listen and act on the answers and show them that their voice matters. That's what you can do basically to help to move your children through these four stages, if they're particularly if they're being disengaged. Now, one way you can give wise feedback is if you are a teacher and you are commenting on the paper or you're grading the paper. You can also just add a little sympathy question or comment on that paper to encourage the child, because at that stage, especially when children are teenagers or just a little bit beyond, they get their feelings hurt and crushed really easily. So you want to be gentle with them, and you don't want to lower the expectations. You want to keep the expectations high, but you can share with the student that I know that you can achieve this. I know that you can do this, and this is why I'm going to insist on your doing it. Or I put these comments on these papers because I have faith in you, and I know you can do it. That will encourage your child, and I guarantee you, if you say it sincerely, they will do it. So kids need both challenge and support to thrive. They need that to go en route, to be the fuel that drives them to the explorer stage. You want your child to be autonomous, you want them to be independent, but you want them to be able to go and get help if they need it. Okay? So, helping children feel heard and giving them small choices in their learning builds agency and confidence. Now, remember, we talked about agency, and what we said about agency, really, agency is the ability for a person to make a plan and to execute that plan. Now, I'm missing some of my pages here. So, let's see. Okay, we talked about why kids disengaged, and we talked about how parents can support. Now we're going to talk about one issue that I know that everybody thinks is the problem. And that is tech. Everybody thinks tech is the problem to the disengagement that we're having in school. But listen to this. Tech is an easy escape, but it is not the real problem. It's the elephant in the room, we think, and so it's readily seen and available, and so we heap everything on it. But the real issue is not the phone, the social media. The real issue is really not to shift the focus from blaming technology to fostering deeper engagement. Okay, so since schools often fail to provide deep, meaningful learning, then the easy thing for children to do is to play on their phones, to talk on social media, to text. Because now, instead of being disengaged in the classroom, then they have a highly entertaining alternative because they are bored. They are bored. So the key takeaway here is, instead of focusing only on screen time limits, we need to create engaging learning experiences that kids don't feel the need to escape. Now, I do know that a lot of you probably are teaching your children at home. A lot of people are opting for that. Or some of you are still taking your children to school. But even if you're going to pick your child up, you can create that as a learning experience for the child, especially if math, you can have him look at the odometer and use GPS and determine how many miles it's going to take us to get home, and ask him to add that up for you to determine how many miles will we have to go to arrive at our destination. That's just a little easy little math, but these are just simple examples and suggestions that you can do with your child to make it an engaging learning community for him and learning activities. And if you take your child with you to go grocery shopping, let them add up the groceries, make the list and give them a budget. Don't let them go over. If I don't know how many of you allow your children to access your bank account and do your banking. Learn to do that. This is a skill that they need. I was looking at a cooking show yesterday, and it was this woman. She was bright, she was young, peppy, and she was fixing these delicious meals. And I was just glued in because I love cooking. And she was just doing it so lovingly, and she wasn't talking at all. She was just showing you what she was doing, and you could tell she loved it because she fixed this 3 or 4 course meal. And I was thinking, is she a cook? Is she in a restaurant? And then what I later learned, because she was recording this, I saw her family come in, I saw her husband come in, and I saw all of her children come in. She had 4 children. And so they all sat at the table, and she placed the food. I think it was 6 plates that she made, or about 4 course meal, cabbage, some chicken, some other things that I don't remember. But she was doing such a wonderful job cooking. I was very impressed with her. But the one thing that I thought struck my attention right away was that when everybody was at the table, there was no talking, there was no sharing. It was just, people eating. And I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that. However, that's an opportunity to create relational communications with your child. At the dinner table, a child shouldn't. It shouldn't. A child shouldn't be afraid to talk, or when they're at the table, not looking around, looking scared. They're need to be doing some soul searching about that situation right there. Why are these children? Why is this family acting like this? For one thing, they're not really talking. They're just eating and not sharing anything. So that's a situation where you could bring in some relational communication with your child. If use the opportunity that you have. So there's some closing. Okay, some closing takeaways tonight, and we haven't been on very long, but some closing takeaways tonight is to I'm going to be offering you some actionable steps as parents and teachers if you're available. And I would like for you to reflect on these. What mode is your child in? What might be driving their disengagement? And that's a question that you can reflect on. Again, is what mode do you think your child is in? Remember the 4 modes: the achiever, the passenger, the resistor, and also the explorer. What mode do you think your child is in, or your grandchild, or the children at school? What might be driving their disengagement? Is it the fact that they don't know what you are covering and they don't want to feel embarrassed? What is going on with them underneath the disengagement is what we're seeking to discover. Is it anger? Is it boredom? There's a cause underneath that disengagement. The action step really is to ask your child one question and then invite them to express their thoughts. Example, what's one thing you wish felt different about learning? You can ask them that. I remember approximately 2 months ago, some servants came to my home to implement some repairs in my house that will help me to remain in the house because of my youngness, I would say. And out of the group, it was about 25 of them really that came. And they did a lot of repair work. And I'm so grateful for that because there were some little things that I'd overlooked that they felt that I needed, like some grab bars in the bathroom and things like that, some lights and some new electrical outlets. And there was one person, he was 16, and he caught my attention. And I started to ask him, about his presence because I was captivated, and to make a long story short, he told me that he was working with his dad today, and I said, "Oh, you enjoy working with your dad?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "When do you go to school?" And he said, "Well, I'm supposed to be in school today, but I took off." And it just was a very engaging conversation to me because he was so honest. And I said, "Well, thank you for sharing that." I said to him, I said, "What is it that you favor being here rather than in school?" And he says, "I'm doing something." He just immediately said, "I'm doing something." He felt useful, purposeful. He was engaged. And I said, "Do you like school?" And he said, "No, it's boring. It's really boring." And so I had a wonderful conversation with him, and I really enjoyed it. But that is an example of inviting a child, a teenager, to just express their thoughts, and he did. He was so honest, and I was so happy that he did because I learned a lot from him. So we don't need to fix everything. Wives, women, you know how that feels when you share with your husband and your boyfriend, and immediately they go into fix it mode because they want to fix it. You just want them to listen. It's the same with your children and your teenagers. Just listen. Just be present with them and honestly listen. Don't be on your phone scrolling or doing something. Cut your phone off. What you're doing with your child is much more important than the phone call. I don't care who it is. If it's your husband, he'll understand, or just send him a text. "I'll be with you in a moment," but give that child your undivided attention at that time. And my final thought tonight is to when we shift from frustration to curiosity, we stop seeing disengagement as a problem to punish, to judge, to fix, but we start seeing it as a doorway to a deeper connection and growth. And isn't that what we want for our children? That's the explorer mode. And that is hopefully where we're guiding our children to navigate towards and through. That's the stage. Hopefully, you have enjoyed this. Sorry I wasn't as prepared, but I had a really busy day today. And but I'll be more prepared next week, and I'll learn how to attach that document to the YouTube presentation. I haven't learned that yet, but I will learn it by next week. So thank you for your presence, and hopefully you'll join me for part 3 next week because we will be continuing this conversation about disengaged children because really it's a top issue right now. And I really believe that's why a lot of parents are opting for homeschooling. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, please subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Bye.